to the Uncommon Transformation television series.
You are welcome to Akwa Ibom State, the land of uncommon transformation. Come and join us, live amongst us, and invest, and you will not regret. I welcome you.
Akwa Ibom State, under the administration of Chief Godswill Akpabio, has taken her economic destiny into her own hands and has brought about a transformation agenda that has given a stimulus to the fortunes of its people and ensured prosperity for all. Since 2007, when Governor Godswill Akpabio assumed leadership of the state, he has put in place a vibrant policy to support new investments and guarantee success for such enterprise. Governor Godswill Akpabio is one leader who has clearly demonstrated how government can work by positioning Akwa Ibom State in a pole position in the economic hub of the Gulf of Guinea. To achieve this, the administration started by effectively tackling decayed infrastructure which had bedeviled the state since creation. Roads infrastructure is also being given priority with the construction of over 300 state and federal roads, flyover bridges, and other bridges to open up rural areas and take development to the hinterland where the bulk of mineral resources abound. Recently, Chief Akpabio attended a 2-day advocacy workshop on economic diversification and enhanced revenue generation for the South-South region. The workshop was organized by the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission in Asaba, Delta State Capital. Governor Akpabio, in his goodwill message at the workshop, elaborated the significance of hosting the workshop in the South-South region, a region that he maintained was responsible for over 97% of the country's revenue. Even as he enumerated the plight of the indigents of the region in the face of continued exploitation and exploration of her abundant natural resources that has resulted in severe environmental degradation.
Let me congratulate the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission for choosing Delta State, a part of the Niger Delta, to commence this zonal workshop. I'm sure you will go around the entire country. You knew that your work is to appropriate money on a monthly basis for the sustenance of Nigeria. But you also knew that this is the region that produces the money that you appropriate. And it's more than 97% of what you appropriate monthly is from here. The continuous oil exploration and exploitation, we are disturbing the equilibrium of the earth strata. And our prayer is that our children should live to be as cool as we are. Because should there be an earthquake as a result of a tsunami, it means that this is one region that is almost in peril, that could be wiped out in order to keep Nigeria one. So many of their children were unable to go to school as a result of the fact that the fishes on the water are either dead or you get poisoned fish due to crude oil spill. Many of them in the rural communities who live in the water shorelines are even more in trouble. There is no farmland. The only farmland could have been the water. But the water is continuously black. But these are things that when you mention to people who are not from this region, they just look at you as if you are making excuses. So most times we sound like a passing ambulance. That you hear the siren and then you continue to watch your television. But if it is your child that is inside that ambulance on the way to the hospital, will you continue to watch television? You'll be frightened. So we are like that. We are the ones inside the ambulance, where the rest of you are hearing the siren as it's passing to the hospital.
Chief Akpabio also posited that the exploitation and exploration of coal in Enugu may have accounted for the severe erosion menace now ravaging the eastern part of the country.
And the chairman, I'm sure you already know, because they are just next door there, Ebo is not far away. And you know that they are suffering a lot of coal erosion as a result of the mines that were not filled in Enugu. I'm sure you know that. So you can imagine what will happen to us 10 years from today, but we don't go into that.
Chief Akpabio recounted that despite playing a major role in uniting the country and flourishing her economy, the region was usually not given a fair treatment in national policies implementation, a situation that could possibly be traced to the post-Civil War era.
I was opportune to speak in the presence of what I regarded as Nigerian principalities, when we had almost 3 or 4 former heads of states, of government and all that. I was given an award by Silver Belt. And I saw General Gowan, I saw so many of them. General Buhari was there, so many of them. And I said something that I just want to mention for revenue mobilization to think about. I said, you see, in Nigeria, we must, after the war, General Gowan had the 3 R's: reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. Am I right? Yes. So I said, how come reconstruction started from the west when the bombs were exploding in the eastern region? Because if all the bridges here were broken, and we came back and were sleeping in primary school buildings, there was no house, because the war was here. If we were practicing the 3 R's, reconstruction should have started from here. Am I right? Yes. How come every account owner in Eastern region, including Delta State, was given 20 pounds, whether you had 10 million, 20 million, whatever your family had, and you were living with Koshoko without a house to live in? Will 20 pounds give you food?
The Akwa Ibom State Chief Executive also took time to make a case for the adoption of a true federalism model for the country, insisting that there was urgent need for the nation to diversify her economy and broaden her revenue base. He then urged the Revenue Commission to come up with a blueprint which would allow the regions to develop at their own pace by exploring other sources of revenue outside oil.
And I said that the problem of Nigeria, in my assessment, is that for 50 years, Nigeria spent its time trying to suppress certain sections of the country. If you leave somebody's hand up, your hand stays up. But if you press somebody down, you stay down. Am I right? That was why Nigeria stayed down for 50 years. Begin to allow every section of the country to develop at its own pace. That is the meaning of a federation. South Dakota, North Carolina, Texas, California cannot develop at the same pace. That's why the economy of California, for instance, is bigger than the economy of the whole of West Africa put together. Yes, at the time they were the 4th largest economy in the world, but it's just a state in America. So as we discuss, remember that you are in a federation and you should be encouraging true federalism so that every section of the country will begin to look inwards and look at the resources available. If you look at the Nasarawa, Zamfara, and the belts of that region, including even Plateau, you'll be shocked with the amount of resources under the ground. But we are not exploiting them. Is it not recently that we realized that there could be, and there must be, crude oil in Sokoto and in Borno? When did we realize that? Because Chad, just our neighboring place there, is already tapping our crude oil. Niger is tapping crude oil. They've discovered crude oil there, and they are just our next day to It is the same principle that made Ghana to discover crude oil. When they said, Ghana, for your information, has a maritime territory with Nigeria. Did you know that? And congratulate you for realizing the need for us to diversify and look inward so that we can begin to exploit all the available resources and jumpstart the economy. So it's my candid belief that this zonal advocacy workshop on economic diversification and enhanced revenue generation, starting with the South-South zone, reflects the urgent need for us as a nation to diversify our economy and broaden our revenue base. Of course, we prospered based on our agricultural strength at that time. The discovery of oil. I believe it has become a cost in a sense because it has resulted in very poor gross domestic products. And also because some sections of the country have made up their minds that they will never look at any other source of revenue except oil. Ali Habib was the man who sold his farmland to go in search of diamond. He sold his farmland to go in search of diamonds. After a futile search for years, his money finished, and in frustration, he committed suicide. And he committed suicide off the coast of Barcelona. This is a life story. But while he was away, in his fatal search for diamond was discovered in his farmland. And that was the farmland he sold. One of the biggest diamond mines today in Asia is located on Ali Habib's property. I hope you are getting the point I'm making. So I'm saying that as we do this retreat, let us advise our local governments, our leaders in all parts of the country, that we should avoid the Ali Habib's experience, where you went in search of crude oil in the Niger Delta and you left the diamond in your backyard. Some other person will come and discover you. An ounce of diamond, an ounce of gold is far more costly than the barrel of Bitcoin.
Akpabio enlightened the workshop on the Dubai model as employed by the government of the United Arab Emirates, which involves the development of infrastructure, real estate, and a range of services, complemented with a free zone to build export capacity. He said the Dubai model is what his government is deploying in Akwa Ibom State, with a massive investment in infrastructure, social services and security, a program aptly described as uncommon transformation.
That line up in London trying to come to Nigeria, you wait for this country. It takes sometimes up to 3 months for somebody to get a visa to come to Nigeria. What we are doing in my state has been termed uncommon transformation. Prepare the infrastructure, and then people will come, investors will come. So I'm happy to report to you that from even the little that you did, which you've not, my brother said should raise to 50%, and I support it. Strategically putting a lot of money into infrastructure to prepare the Dubai model for the diversification of the economy. And in this respect, I don't know whether it is true that the chairman of the commission was lamenting that so much money goes to Niger Delta and not much, too much has been seen on the ground. I don't believe that, because that was a story before we came on board. Before 2007, that's what people used to say. But I know that today, many people are saying so much is being done by the governments of the Niger Delta. Where would they get the money to pay? That's why we decided on the retreat, so that we can find a way to get money for us to do. So I'm not going to start mentioning and reporting myself that I've done over 300 urban roads. Is that a spirit? No. Will I mention the underground drainage systems I'm doing in the state? I wouldn't. I'll tell you that we are doing free and compulsory education for all Nigerian children in order to encourage them. And free medical treatment for pregnant women. And most of even the wives of Deltans are delivering free there. And then we don't discriminate. So the free education of the senior secondary school is open to all Nigerian children who are residing in the country. That's what we are doing. And I just reported before I came here that we managed in the last 3 to 4 years to eliminate polio. We have not had a single incidence of polio in the state. I think that is something we should be proud of. Well, other major projects that I've done in the state, outside the fact that I copied what Delta is doing, I finished the airport I met on ground, I finished the independent power plants, and I'm partnered with a company from London, and we built a gas processing plant, which is going to be commissioned by the President in October. And that investment was not a private investment. We only encouraged them. We deposited money for future supply of gas, and they put in about $550 million. And we did 69 kilometers of gas pipeline, so we can now supply gas from the private sector to Alstom, as well as my own independent power plant in Korobasi. At the moment, we are producing 191 megawatts, and we are hoping that, barring these distribution and transmission problems, we can actually have stable power and then show that yes, indeed, 24 hours power is possible. So please, I hope the ministry will unbundle the situation. So I won't talk about the e-library, which is to encourage learning. But it's something that people come to see. Then after this, the next zonal retreat should be in my Tropicana Center, which I'm building a second 5-star hotel, but I won't mention that. But I'm already I also decided to build houses for many of you. So the government is targeting about 10,000 units of houses, but at the moment I've finished 2,000 already. For which civil servants and others will come. So when you come, you go around and see some of those ones, choose the one you want, then I'll just assign it to you. So in partnership with the federal government, you must encourage the federal government to consider building another deep sea port. We can have many ports, but we may have very few deep sea ports. The reason why I mention this is that sometimes you can have a port, and then the kind of tonnage of ship that will come there will be limited as a result of the water drought. So it is much more cost effective if you have one ship that can carry so many things, maybe hundreds and hundreds of cars and come at once, than to have small ships dotting around the whole area because of the water drought and the channel. So we have a place in Akwa Ibom, they call it Baka. It has a water drought of 15 to 17 meters without dredging. And it's about 2 nautical miles away from the deep sea, from the ocean. So all you need to do is just build the water breakers, and then you produce a deep sea port. It can actually serve the entire Gulf of Guinea. It can serve also even for search and rescue purposes. It could serve also for strategic military purpose. So that Ibaka is an area that I'm inviting Deltans, the Niger Delta, and other Nigerians who are interested to join with foreigners to come and look. Because if you go to Apapa, you'll see about 130 ships all over the place. And the reason is because we are no longer a very attractive destination for big ocean liners. And so we spend a lot of money also on security. I was looking at Delta, I saw a lot of boats, and those things cost a lot of money. I'm sure some of them will be deployed for security purposes, so many of them. It's not easy, and that's why we are pleading that we look again at this issue of 13% and see how we can move it forward. I have faith in Nigeria, and I know that if all the component states of the Federation deploy their resources well, Nigeria will change. And I know that with the retreat of this nation, there is no way Nigeria will not change.
In maintaining his stand on the onshore-offshore debacle, which the federal government has equally foreclosed, Governor Akpabio presented a copy of the Nigerian Weekly Law Report, stressing that the abrogation of the onshore-offshore dichotomy was both a legal and judicial settlement.
I have a book I would like to give to the chairman of the commission. It is a Nigerian Weekly Law Report. It reports on the onshore-offshore issue, that after the National Assembly abrogated the onshore-offshore, which was again another policy of the military, and which people describe as on-no-shores, certain governments in the country, about 22 governments, challenged that law in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that that law was effective and should be implemented. So the abrogation of the onshore-offshore dichotomy was both a legal and a judicial settlement. It was legally settled by the National Assembly, and it was judicially settled by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So I would like to give a copy of that judgment to the chairman of the Revenue Mobilization and Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, so we can plead with our brothers that in a country that has so many challenges, we should focus on things that will unite this country, not on things that will divide us. And my prayer is that everybody will see the need to show patriotism so that this country can move forward. Well, I'm happy to be here, and I know that by the time we go around the entire country and we are working the consciousness for us to look back into the agricultural sector, to look into mining and look into the other areas, there may not even be need for us on a monthly basis to go to Abuja to share money. Because if every state should develop its resources, we may have to tinker with the law that will just pay small tax to the center and practice through the federal.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, information reaching me is that the Governor of Cross River State is represented here by the Commissioner of Local Government Affairs. I'd like to welcome him. We want to sincerely appreciate and thank the Governor of Akwa Ibom State for that wonderful.
The workshop, declared open by the Governor of Delta State, Dr. Emmanuel Uduaghan, was the third in the series, organized by the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission in each of the 6 geopolitical zones, which aimed to sensitize both federal, state and local governments and other stakeholders on the urgent and compelling need to diversify their respective sources of revenue in order to meet the increasing expenditure requirements of governance and development. According to the chairman of the commission, Mr. Elias Mbam, it is the belief of the nation's Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission that organizing these workshops on zonal basis will afford states in each geopolitical zone to explore their peculiar potentials, share experiences on how to exploit and develop the various resources and endowments available in their respective states and local government councils in generating more revenue.